Good day, my friends, and welcome to Friday, December the 5th, 2025. We are now fully into the last month of 2025. Christmas will be coming this month. Hanukkah is coming. We've got the New Year's Eve activities, Kwanzaa. All kinds of things are taking place during this month. I love the holiday season because there's so much activity and fun taking place, but there's also a lot of pressure. I think there's also a thing here about being able to, while winding down the year, understand at the same time you're starting to wind up your plans for the forthcoming year, if you're allowed to see the light of day, of the new year of 2026. This is Resolve to Live Forward. I'm John Morrow. Thank you for joining me. The podcast is actually provided to you through the hosting platform Buzzsprout. And among the podcast platforms that this program is on are Spotify and the iTunes Store. This is also recorded so as to be uploaded to a YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. I will tell you that my Gmail address is johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me. I can also be found on Facebook and LinkedIn. We are in the discussions about the experience of grief. But the grief that I want to talk about today is really more of a broader understanding of sorrow and pain, and a truth that I want to give to you, and I sincerely believe it. Grief comes through many types of events, and it doesn't always come as the result of a death. I've said it before, but let me say it again. It's not just about death. There are a lot of us that in the past had it in our mind that grieving was ultimately that cathartic moment where something very special or someone incredibly precious and priceless was taken from us by some situation, whether it was suddenly or whether we had to watch this person wither away and pass away. I want to say, yes, that happens. But also, grieving, as I have said in previous episodes, occurs when a marriage dies, when a job that you love is yanked out from underneath you, when a company that you personally started and built and loved collapses, and you go through a bankruptcy, for want of a better term. And there are other things too, a house fire that destroys precious things, or something that you possess, and somehow or the other through uncertain circumstances you lose that thing that was precious to you. There are all kinds of things that cause grief, and we won't even get into the discussion of grief as it relates to how other people might treat you in the course of your life, and even now in your daily life, at your job, at home, at church, at school, and at all kinds of places. And there's something here about it that I wanted to share with you. Okay, it's Friday. It's Friday, December the 5th, and this podcast episode, with the help of the folks at Buzzsprout, launched on several podcast platforms, including Spotify and the iTunes Store. I want you to think about something by putting yourself in such a way that you can be high up and be able to look down and see a much bigger picture. And I want you specifically to think about these things that happen in our lives. And I've been thinking about them too, especially as I approach the month of February in 2026, when I will have the honor to stand on a TEDx stage here in Central Florida and tell my story and perhaps maybe change lives. And this is one of the things that I'll probably talk about in that 10-minute presentation for the TEDx event in February. Let's talk about sorrow or grief, devastation, despair, loss, and the pain emotionally. And there's also, depending upon circumstances, physical pain, financial pain. There is the loss of something that we can't get back because it's been taken away from us. These are all things which leave us damaged. And once you've been damaged, I am thoroughly convinced from an emotional point of view, and not just a physical point of view, depending upon the damage, it's going to leave a mark. It's going to leave a scar. Emotional scars sometimes are far more painful than the physical scars. It may be disfigured and look a little bit on the ugly side if it's a physical scar, but it healed, and generally speaking, hopefully, you're able to be functionally almost 100% of what you were before, although I don't believe there's such a thing as returning to what you were before the damage. But getting back to the principal point here is that you're in this place of sorrow. And there's something that I surmised as I began to realize that we share so much in common with each other with these events. We all are going through things like that. Obviously, we talk about grief and the death of a loved one. We talk about the loss of a very beloved pet. We can talk about the grief associated with a broken marriage, or the grief that is experienced when one has a job or a career and a position, and through circumstances that had nothing to do with anything you did wrong, it's yanked right out from underneath you and taken away from you, leaving you in a place of despair and wondering, why is it that the thing that I do the best and love to do the most has been taken from me? What about, let's say, a disaster? I had a house fire in 1990. And although we were able to get the house fully recovered, rehabilitated, restored, and remodeled, there were personal items in our home that were very precious and cherished that were destroyed, including our wedding album, and so much more. My high school yearbooks, my college yearbooks. Now, those things may not seem important to you. They may seem trivial, but I think as I get older, I realize they had great value, and I miss them. Here's something that I observed the other day. I watched a couple as they were confronting the terrible, terrible disappointment that the baby that they wanted so desperately to have was not going to come because there was a miscarriage. Circumstances like that happen, and as I look back in my life, I remember that my wife and I went through not just one, but 4 miscarriages, and out of the total of 5 pregnancies that my wife experienced, only 1 resulted in the birth of an incredible son who today is 45 years of age and married, and the father of my 2 incredible, spectacular granddaughters. So you see, there is a silver lining, but that does not diminish the pain and the sorrow and the hurt at the time that my wife miscarried, because we dearly, dearly looked forward to that. And as much as it devastated me, it devastated her far more, plus there's a physical damage that's associated with that. Now, why do I say this about disappointment, sorrow, sadness, death, devastation, tragedy, personal, emotional, and physical trauma and all these things. Now, I'm not trying to bring a dark cloud into the conversation, but this is sorrow, and it's the most intimate and the most personal. And what you do with that sorrow is a tremendous challenge. And what we have to do is we have to make a choice and decide how we're going to proceed in dealing with that, and can we find a way to move forward in a positive direction. And here's my quote: if you don't make the choice to work with your sorrow, your grieving, your disappointment, and your emotional and physical pain, and find a way to grow into something greater because of it, I assure you that that sorrow, that grief, that trauma, that tragedy will make that choice for you. Consequences. We live in a world where we would like to think that everything can be just the way we want it. I will not deny the fact that some things help us to better cope with day-to-day living. Possessions, material things, relationships, having individuals as support, faith, structure, the opportunity to have recognition and to be welcomed and received. There are many, many things that give life tremendous meaning. But at the end of the day, there is a truth here. And again, let's go back up to that broad view of this landscape. Humanity, it's not about certain individuals destined to fall into a situation that will terribly disrupt their lives. It'll create a crisis of emotions, a crisis of finance, a crisis of physical peril, a crisis of loss. It happens to everybody. We are not exempt from it. We are not born so that we are bulletproof. The truth is, it's going to happen. And if it happens, the biggest question that you're going to have to ask yourself if you intend to get back up on your feet and start the process of finding a way forward is you have to choose, and choose wisely, how you're going to take that and not let it define you, but let it be the motivation for you. Because I assure you that if you don't make the choice, that terrible, damaging tragedy in your life will make the choice for you. And this is true across the world. Mankind has this in common. It happens everywhere. We're not alone. It's something that we share, and it's something that makes us have a commonality with each other. So therefore, when I talk to you in this podcast, it's my intention to reach as many people as possible who have arrived at that place already and are struggling with those feelings. Also, among those people that have arrived at that place, they may have already started moving in a more powerful forward direction. You're important to this conversation too, because you're a part of a group of people that enable others to overcome. I want to be a part of that community, but I want you to understand that if you're still at that point where you don't have answers, it's okay. One thing is for certain: there are good people in the world who haven't experienced what you've experienced. And they may say things to you which you think, oh, come on, really? Like, for example, An individual once told me, you have closure. She died peacefully. She died quickly. That's a blessing. Well, yeah, it is a blessing in terms of in the manner of her death. It was sudden, unexpected, quick, and in all likelihood, she never felt a thing. She just went down and she was already dead. It just took me 45 minutes. And hearing those 3 words, time of death, to realize the finality of that process. And it was me who was broken. She was out of her misery. But to come up to me and say, it's time to move on. There's another part of your life ahead of you. They mean well. But that doesn't help. Moving forward is very personal. But before you can even take the first step to move forward, you've got to climb up. You're probably flat on your face emotionally. The phrase I use is lying in a pool of your own sorrow. It's a figurative statement, a metaphor, but it's true. There is that aspect as we're laying there in this catharsis of pain and sorrow and anguish, where the only question that's in our mind is, what do I do now? What can I do? Everything that matters is gone. That's the question that if you linger upon it and you become trapped and mired in it, will feed the power of that sorrow. And that sorrow will eventually manifest in something that will take your life away from you. Long before the physical life goes, the emotional life can be taken from you, and the rest of your life can be spent in deep, deep sorrow and bitter. And it happens all the time. But if you can be a part of the group of people who have a framework and make a decision first, let's get and collect my thoughts and realize, yes, I'm damaged. Find help to heal, but also find help to first pull yourself up. I can picture it right there. You're flat on your face now. You're just trying to pull yourself up or even lift your head and look around you and see, okay, what do I see? What can I do? What's there for me to help me? What must I do first? And usually when you look around, you realize you've got to first begin to get up so that at least you can be on your knees and sitting there and taking stock of the situation, beginning to evaluate how you feel, and also looking around to see who might be able to come and provide you with support and help and guidance. But eventually, if you're determined to live forward, you have to rise slowly but surely to your standing. Now, I want to point something out to you. Darren LaCroix, a past world champion of public speaking, talked about Dr. Robert Goddard, who created a rocket in Auburn, New York, and shot it up in the air, and it didn't do so well. And he used it as an analogy of how you find yourself making your way forward in life and falling flat on your face when you fail. And this would be the same way with grief. But he used an analogy where he said, now you're flat on your face, but when you get up, guess what? Because you fell forward and you get up, you actually are further than you were when you fell. Sounds whimsical and silly, but in truth, think about it. It's one thing to get knocked back, but the thing that I see is that the opportunity is to find yourself, if you do fall, to fall forward and then to get up and realize you have moved a little bit forward. And if you can do that, then you can take a step forward. Principally speaking, any kind of a bad event, a emotional event, a physical event, a financial event, a relational event, and so many other types of things render us stuck. And we're trying to figure out how to shift the gears. Imagine that we're in muck and we're in our vehicle and we're trying to find a way to get unstuck. How that looks may vary. But the thing is, you want to get unstuck because your goal is not to stay stuck there, but to shift into a situation where you can begin to slowly but surely move in a forward direction. Resolve for me is a power word defined as one who has a definite firm plan of action. Became the catalyst that helped me beginning in the latter part of 2019 after a long period of deep sorrow when my wife died suddenly in front of me in June of 2019. It was that word which came back to me, which my wife had helped me to choose, and she chose it for herself as well. And that word and the framework of 7 behaviors based upon those 7 letters of RESOLVE, those behaviors are a framework for productivity. They're not problem solving. They are a process for finding an answer to the problem, a solution to the problem, or at least a way to begin steps that move you further ahead towards a positive, productive, functional, useful, beneficial, and meaningful, vibrant life. A lot of superlatives there. Adjectives. But you can't get enough of these because what you have to do is you have to have something that you, when you don't feel like it, go back to, tap into, and realize that this formulary through these 7 personal best practices takes you in a meaningful forward direction each day. The late country music and folk music singer John Denver released a song a few decades ago called "Some Days Are Diamonds and Some Days Are Stones." And that actually was taken from something that had been said by other people with these philosophical adages that they shared. And it's a true statement. We can't have a perfect day. We can't have a great day. Some days are just not good. Some days don't turn out good at all. But regardless of whether the day is a diamond or whether the day is a stone or falls somewhere in between, if you are doing the right stuff intentionally every day because you know you've got the framework and the process and the mechanism to be productive and to have success and to create success and to overcome that which wants to push back against you and make you become immobile, if you have that kind of a structure, that kind of a process, choose to use it. It's an intentional choice. Because remember, if you give in to the sorrow, it's going to make the choice for you. If you give in to the sense of defeat, it's going to make the choice for you. And if it makes the choice for you, I can assure you, you won't like the outcomes. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. How many times have I said that? I'm just a straightforward human being, having lived now for almost 75 and 1/2 years as of today's recording. And I know just exactly what this kind of sorrow can do. And I'm so thankful that I did not find myself without any means of help. And it isn't just the power word and the behaviors. I was surrounded by a host of community. That may not be the case with you, but if you're in that position and everything, stay with me. We can talk about this. We can work our way through this. We can find a way to begin to train our mind through an intentional choice to be the best version of ourselves we can be and to find our way forward and recover. We will never 100% heal. There will be the damage. As I said, you don't move on past that. You move forward with it. Thus, the resolve to live forward process. Definite firm plan of action. My definite firm plan of action is to live forward. How do I live forward? I choose to live forward, and I choose to behave in such a way, and if you need an outline and a pattern, a purpose, an acronym, whatever, choose a series of steps that you'll do every day as best practices that will benefit you and not serve to break you down and keep you debilitated. There are no easy answers, but I go back to what I said at the beginning of the podcast. If you let your sorrow and your pain and your grief and your defeat be the thing that you place your focus upon, rather than intentionally choosing to find a way to step forward positively, I assure you that the loss will make the choice for you. Don't do that. As I always like to say as we wrap up, choose to live forward. Choose for you, not for others, although others will be blessed by it. Choose for you to live forward. Thank you for joining me today on this episode, the first Friday of the month of December. This is the podcast, Resolve to Live Forward. I'm John Morrow. I appreciate your patience with me. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate that you would send me your feedback and that you would make your notes about me. Watch me on watch me on YouTube and listen to me on multiple different kinds of podcast platforms, thanks to Buzzsprout, in particular, Spotify, the iTunes Store. I am thankful for the opportunity to be here for you, and I feel like it's a mission for me to do it. So I serve at your pleasure, but I serve with one thing and one thing only in mind. If I can do it, and I've found something that works for me, you can do it, and you can find something that will work for you. So this is John Morrow saying, until we get together again by the grace of God at this time next week, please, as I always like to say, please, 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 always choose to live forward. Goodbye for now.